Welcome back to another episode of TVGP's We Roguelike. It's sure Moon and I are playing way too many RPGs. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpear.
Want to redo that? Well,
Yeah.
RPGs?
RPGs, roguelikes, card games, not visual
Tomato,
novels.
tomato.
That seems to be the only thing that doesn't have roguelike stuff in it yet.
Now you said it. You're gonna invite it into the world.
That's
I hope
right.
You're happy.
We've willed it into existence. We are recording with, just as a heads up here, we're recording video and audio using a little bit of a different system this time. So if things sound a little bit weird or look a little bit weird, we're trying to figure it out. Trying to move into a different era of backup recordings, and we'll see how it goes. And see how it all turns out. So sometimes you gotta
This is a live fire exercise.
That's right. Sometimes you just gotta try it and see how it goes. All right, I got a lot of things to say about Loot River this week. How much did you play?
Minimal, if I'm completely honest. So
Okay.
if you want to take the lead, you knock yourself out.
I tried. This was the game I tried to sit down and play the most of this week because I felt, like I said last week, I felt like I really wanted to sit down and get a couple of good runs in me. Like try and sit down for like an hour or two at once and just, at the beginning of a roguelike, an hour or two could be like 10, 15 runs.
Yeah.
So just wanted to try and get a bunch of runs under my belt. And I think I have put my finger on why I don't like this game. And
Okay.
So running sort of chronologically, when you finish the first level you start in, there's like one of those tutorial banners that's like, hey, if you finish it in under 2 minutes, you'll get a pretty cool reward, a boon, they say
which
specifically.
Is just knowledge.
Yeah, which turns out to just be like a bunch of XP and a little bit of knowledge, which the level of XP didn't get me from level 2 to 3, so that's not useful at all. I have been consistently frustrated by the area of effect for explosions.
Yep.
I think it's really cool that this game has a bunch of little platforms that you're on and you're doing all the puzzling and traversal and stuff. But when an enemy throws an explosion on your like 1x2 grid thing that you're standing on, and the explosion is bigger than that, I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that. That's really frustrating.
Yep.
I have almost unlocked almost all of the weapons in the game. They all seem largely the same, which is kind of frustrating as well. And tying into that, looking at the achievements, there's a bunch of like the spell vendor and the armor vendor and all that stuff. I haven't seen any of that stuff. I have no idea where that is.
I got the spell vendor.
Oh, okay.
He was on like the second or the end of the first level or something like that.
Okay.
He's just a random person who's standing there, and you have to interact with him to actually get him to.
Man, I feel like I must have missed that because I'm regularly getting to the boss of the third level. So like that first introduction area where the platforms can catch on fire, like that doesn't have a boss unless you turn that modifier on to put a boss there.
I don't even know how to turn the modifiers on.
You talk to the lady that's in the upper right-hand corner before you start a run, and you'll pick up a modifier every once in a while where like you'll have more enemies or a boss will appear on the first floor, or now there are less dogs. Those are all those kind of modifiers. But I'm regularly getting to the boss of the third area. So have you fought the like first real boss, that lady with the hand you can chop off?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. She's really big. She can like shoot a laser. She sticks her hand on your platform and traps it and then stabs you a bunch of times. It's kind of a neat fight. The one in the third area is I still don't know how to beat that boss because it is way too fast, and he just dumps like 50 enemies at a time. Um,
Oh, jeez.
so I feel like I'm making it fairly far. One of the other bummers of it is you don't keep stats between runs. So every time you level up, you can level up one of your 5 kind of core stats.
Uh-huh.
But since you don't level up stats between runs, and I haven't found the like armor vendor, so I'm not sure if you can start with like a piece of armor that increases your vitality or whatever. All you really want to do is put your points in vitality so you can have a way bigger health bar, and that because like the other ones on the vitality and strength seems to be the ones that make the biggest difference, but the rest of
Uh-huh.
them is just like, well, you can increase your poise, and it's like, yeah, I don't think I really
What does
care.
it do?
Yeah, like, and that I think the thing that I'm frustrated about with this game is I'm tired of so many of these games trying to be Dark Souls. Like, this game has
Yep.
a poise system. This game really wants you to parry, and the parrying really doesn't feel great. And there's an enemy with a
No.
shield in like the 3rd level, which is like a fancy area, that you have to parry so you can knock away his shield and stab him and do damage. That sucks. It doesn't really feel good. Um, and it just like I'm tired of. I like Dark Souls just fine, but this game doesn't really need to be 2D isometric Dark Souls. Like, you have a
Yeah.
cool thing going here, and I feel like it's tied too much to trying to be that instead of being its own thing. Like, part of the thing that's really frustrating to me in this game that I know is part of like the Soulsborne thing is like, if I'm swinging at an enemy and I'm getting a good combo going, because every time you hit an enemy, every hit does 1 more damage. So if you're kind of going nuts, you're like 8, 9, 10, 11, you can get up to 17 and 18 damage by the end. If an enemy starts attacking you in the middle, you can't roll out of the way because you're in the middle of doing an attack. And that doesn't feel great. Um, I I did get a charm this week that let me the first time I attack an enemy, I teleport behind them, and then I can kind of start swinging using that. And
That's kind of
that
cool.
that felt really good. I think because I was bypassing the whole dodge and parry system. Like, I just hit an enemy for damage, it teleported me right away, I kept attacking, and I started getting those bigger and bigger numbers, and that felt really great. And then every time I had to, dodging feels okay, but that parry system just does not feel, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't feel good.
Mhm. That's my biggest issue right now. Is it does not feel good at all.
Yeah,
To It doesn't feel good to play.
right.
Like, that's my biggest issue with it right now. Is like when I'm playing this, I feel like I'm struggling with the controls, with the
Hmm.
mechanics, with the knowledge. And sometimes that's just a start off roguelike thing. Sometimes that's
Sure.
just what happens at the beginning of playing a roguelike. And other times it's just the nature of the game is not so hot.
Well, and it's especially a bummer coming off of Going Under, where we didn't click with the combat over
That combat.
there too. So like,
Uh-huh.
it feels like both games were kind of trying to go for a similar um, fighting system, like a similar battle engine, and both kind of
Uh-huh.
missing the mark on each one. So
Yeah.
that might be souring our opinions a little bit here um, on this, but uh, Loot River at this point feels like a really cool idea that just so much of it just did not come together. Like, even they just recently patched the game. Before, when you died in the game, you would lose all of your knowledge. So you had to like spend the knowledge between levels, or else you wouldn't
Oh wow.
go back with anything. Now you keep half of it, which is a little bit better, but like, it just, so much of it feels so punishing. But in a way that feels frustrating because if you're going to have a punishing game, that's fine. I mean, we've played plenty of those on the show, but it needs to control perfectly, and this really doesn't.
Yeah. I know, maybe it will click, but just there's so much about this that I'm just not feeling right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's and I have to say again, like I don't want this to be like some pithy comment or anything. If I have a game that's called Loot River, I really want to see a lot of loot. Like
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of rings now. I'm assuming that came in with the most recent patch, and a lot of rings can make kind of a big difference. Like one of the rings I kept picking up brought me back to life after I died, but only with 50% health,
Mhm.
which is okay because I, the one thing that I think is really fun in this game that I think is really rewarding is that potion gambler guy. Because now when I go see him at the beginning of the game, he gets all 4 of my potions because I don't need any of them in the first level. And I come back and I get 8 back, and I give him 5 more. I clear that second level, and then at that point I have like 12 or 13 when I go see him next. And I'm like, all right, now I'm feeling pretty good. Like that's a pretty cool system that I like a lot. And I feel really rewarded for getting better at the game. Where it's like, yeah, I'm rocking double-digit potions at this point, and that feels pretty good.
That's actually not too bad.
Yeah, it feels pretty good, but I'm gonna have to try and see if I can figure out. I'm gonna have to Google where like the spell and the armor vendors are, because that might change my opinion if I can find any other spells or any other armor than just the one that lets you double dash or the one that lets you stomp. Like that,
Hmm.
having more options might be better. Um, but a lot of the weapons don't feel too different. It's sort of like these ones swing really slow and hit for a bunch. These ones are really fast and kind of do a little bit of damage, and these ones are right in the middle. So there's not that many archetypes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
It's a bit weird. I
yeah. It's a weird
oh
thing. Um, are any final thoughts here for Loot River Week 2?
no, to be honest, you pretty much kind of summed up how I feel this week. Like it's just it feels like it's not clicking right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
which isn't great.
Yeah, we're gonna stick with it though. At the very least, for one more week. But we'll see where the future lies, sailing down the Loot River. Thank you very much, everyone, for
Mhm.
listening. We'll see you all next run. Bye.
Bye.